From folklore and fairies
to monsters and mysteries, it came from the Maritimes. Putting a horseshoe over her door, my co-host, Chelsea.
He's gonna need a bigger boat. My co-host, Evan.
Hello everyone, and welcome to It Came From The Maritimes. Today's topic is the sizable senorita known as Giantess Anna Swan. As a warning, this episode discusses death, including that of babies. So, have you heard of Anna Swan before, Chelsea?
Yes, I believe I learned about her in elementary school when we learned about kind of famous Nova Scotians.
I think I did as well, because for the longest time, I think we might have gone to the Anna Swan Museum around the same time we went to Mount Uniacke, because I thought that she lived at Mount Uniacke for the longest time, and it really messed up. It just scrambled together in my head. Anyway, so I'm going to talk some about Anna Swan. She was born on August 6, 1846, at the weight of 13 pounds. So a pretty large baby.
Evan, I think we were both like just shy of 11 pounds. So I feel like that's a biggie. That's a big baby. I can only imagine those extra 2 pounds would not feel super pleasant during the mother's birthing process.
I'm just sad because I'm thinking about the potential height we could have reached.
Oh, that's the thing. I mean, around 6 feet, we've really lost out.
We would be in the NBA right now.
We could be.
She was born in New Annan, Nova Scotia. She was one of 13 children, with all of the others being of unremarkable height. As she was growing, she grew at an alarming rate. By her 4th birthday, she was 4'6" and 94 pounds. By her 6th birthday, she was 5'2", which is about the height of her mother. And by her 10th birthday, she was 6'1" and 203 pounds. For context, that's around my height, and I'm considered like a pretty big guy. So that's pretty tall to be at 10 years old. She continued to grow, reaching 7 feet at age 15, and her full height of 7'11" at age 18. Her feet were over 14 inches long, and her maximum weight was known to be 418 pounds.
Honestly, I feel for Anna Swan because I'm a tall gal at like 5'11" and 3/4, and I have size 12 feet, and finding shoes is an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, I think they were getting custom made there, I think.
That adds up.
It would. During her childhood, she was known to be very intelligent and excelled in her studies along with acting, playing the piano, and singing. At age 17, she was discovered by P.T. Barnum, where she lived in the P.T. Barnum American Museum in New York City. That building ended up burning down, which she narrowly escaped, as her frame was too large to fit out the windows. She later toured the United States and Europe, and she even appeared before Queen Victoria. Despite all of this, it was back in Halifax, Nova Scotia where she found love. She went to visit a circus and met Martin Van Buren Bates, who worked at the circus as an act known as the Kentucky Giant. He was 7 feet 9 inches and weighed 475 pounds. Anna Swan was seen by a promoter and hired her to tour with them, and she fell in love with Martin Van Buren Bates, and on June 17, 1871, they were married in St. Martin in the Fields in London. She was given the gift of a satin gown and a diamond ring by Queen Victoria, and she also gave a gift to Martin Van Buren Bates of an engraved watch.
My goodness, the blessing of royalty.
I know, she lived quite the life there, and it seems like it was basically P.T. Barnum, So
I have a point of contention to bring up. Have you ever seen the movie The Greatest Showman?
I haven't.
So it is about P.T. Barnum, and they have a bunch of his various performers featured in that movie. But no Anna Swan.
Here's the thing. I don't think that she ever was in his circus necessarily. It seems like it was
about the museum.
Oh, it was about the museum.
Yeah.
Okay.
So lost opportunity to show some love to a Nova Scotian icon.
Like, I don't know why, but I'm just truly like, I love reading about the story and history of Anna Swan. She's just a really tall woman, and she just made a great life for herself.
That's it. I love that people still discuss how intelligent and talented she was.
Yeah, exactly. After their marriage, the couple conceived 2 children, the first being a girl born on May 19th, 1872. She weighed 18 pounds, but unfortunately died at birth. On January 18th, 1879, Anna Swan gave birth to a boy who weighed 22 pounds and was 28 inches tall with 6-inch long feet. Unfortunately, the child only lived for 11 hours. He was posthumously awarded the world record for both heaviest and longest newborn baby. His father described him as having the appearance of a 6-month-old. So it was a very sizable baby. It's very unfortunate, but their children didn't survive, though. They moved to Seville, Ohio, where they built a mansion with appropriately tall door frames and ceilings. Door frames were extra wide and were 8 feet tall, which, considering she was 7'11", 8-foot tall door frame still isn't that high.
That's it. It's still not a ton of room. Like if she was wearing her hair in a top knot, that's still a close call.
Yeah, that's not much clearance. But I mean, we were talking about the Halifax tunnels not too long ago, and I don't think she would have appreciated those at all.
True. Maybe the 8.5-foot one.
Exactly.
Even then.
So with their door frames 8 feet tall, the ceiling was 14 feet tall. There was a back part of the house for servants and guests, and that was built with average specifications, so just average sized door frames and ceilings. So it's pretty interesting that they built a house, half of it for them, that was very tall, and then they were like, well, you know what, the guests don't need the extra height. We'll just build that part of the house. We won't go there.
And honestly, it's very nice for them to consider the servants, because I'm assuming they would have been helping to prepare food and stuff, and it would have been very uncomfortable if they were at those super tall kitchen counters and stuff.
True, just like a 5-foot high kitchen counter, and they're trying to reach up to chop some veggies.
So they were a thoughtful couple.
Yeah. The couple continued touring until the final tour in 1880, where Anna Swan retired to the farm that she owned with her husband. On August 5th, 1888, she passed away suddenly of heart failure, one day before her 42nd birthday. It is believed that her height was caused by a pituitary tumor, but due to limitations of medicine at the time, it was never confirmed. So she passed away fairly young. It seems like her size was likely due to some sort of health issue, which is often seen with different people. But when she passed away, it was before x-rays were even invented, so they weren't exactly doing a ton of testing. And it seems like it didn't necessarily, I mean, it obviously changed the path of her life, but didn't necessarily limit her.
Yeah, it seems like she certainly made the most of her relatively short life.
Yeah, I mean, if she had a big mansion with servants, I think she was doing pretty okay.
Absolutely.
So now I want to talk about another giant of Nova Scotia. Angus MacAskill was born in Scotland, and like Anna Swan, was one of 13 children. He was born in 1825 and moved with his family to the community of Englishtown on Cape Breton in 1831. So when he was about 6 years old, he moved to Nova Scotia from Scotland. He is said to have been an average-sized baby, and for his childhood was also average-sized. But during his teenage years, he began to grow considerably, and around the age of 22 reached his final size of 7 feet 9 inches and 510 pounds. His shoulders were 44 inches wide, which I was showing Chelsea earlier with a measuring tape, is the equivalent of my shoulders and then one of my arms fully outstretched.
Yeah, and as we mentioned before, like Evan, he's 6'1" and he has like broad shoulders, and this is like literally twice his size.
Yeah, it's so he would just be a huge guy. His hands were 8 inches wide, which I know I measured mine, and mine are about 4.5 inches wide. So I'm thinking like double the size of my hands, and same as they were 12 inches long, which is a foot-long hand. That's a pretty long hand. And his feet were 16 inches long. He is described as a gentle giant and was known as the Cape Breton Giant, Giant MacAskill, or in his home community as Gilly Moore, which translates from Gaelic to big boy.
I love that so much.
I know. He's often known as the big boy of Cape Breton. As a side note, he was described as having deep-set blue eyes, a musical voice, and being well-proportioned, which to me suggests that the person who edited his Wikipedia page maybe just had a crush on him. And by well-proportioned, I believe what they mean is there's several places where they call him a true giant, which suggests that he's not necessarily his size due to some sort of health problem, but just truly was a very large man. Unlike Anna Swan, who they believe maybe had health issues which caused her size. MacAskill was known for his strength, and often performed his feats of strength for his own convenience in the fishing village. While others would need to bail excess water from their fishing boats, he would simply tip his 2-ton boat on the end to get the excess water out. He is said to have been able to set a 40-foot-long mast into his boat single-handedly and could lift a full-grown horse over a 4-foot fence. So, I mean, I'm thinking, I know I see Scottish people doing like caber toss, and I think that's still not even a 20-foot log, so a 40-foot, that's pretty considerable. And then a full-grown horse, just lifting it up, putting it over a fence, that's
Think of how far he could throw one of those 20-foot logs if he set his mind to it.
Oh, I'm sure. It said that he could hold over 100 pounds on 2 of his fingers, and then while doing that would hold his arm outstretched for 10 minutes or more. He could also carry a barrel under each arm, with each barrel weighing over 350 pounds. One story says that some French sailors taunted him to lift an anchor, and after that he decided, know what, I'll show them and do a bit more, and lifted a 2,200-pound anchor and carried it all the way down the dock to show off. Unfortunately, when he put it down, the anchor dug into his shoulder and did cause him injury. So that was perhaps a little bit of hubris on his part.
But my goodness, what a legendary fella.
I'm thinking about things that I see about like where I watched a World's Strongest Man competition where these guys are straining with all their might to lift 1,000 pounds, which I can't do, so I'm not. And they're doing that as like a deadlift, and this guy's just lifting a giant anchor as if it's nothing.
Do you remember in gym class when we used to do a challenge where you just had to hold your arms straight out at shoulder height and it was a competition to see who could hold them out the longest?
Yeah.
I could barely do that for 30 seconds. So the thought of holding, like 100 pounds on 2 fingers with his arm outstretched for 10 minutes, like, whoa.
I know, and I'm kind of like, some of this might just be exaggerated, but still, like, it sounds like he was, just because of his massive size, he was probably capable of a lot.
Absolutely.
Similar to Anna Swan, he also worked for P.T. Barnum, and this was in 1849, and he toured the West Indies and Cuba. Queen Victoria also heard of him and had him give a demonstration at Windsor Castle. She said that he was the tallest, stoutest, and strongest man to have ever entered the palace, and she gave him 2 gold rings as a showing of appreciation.
Sounds like she might have had a bit of a crush on him too.
I mean, honestly, can't blame her. I love that she's just kind of like, whenever she likes someone, she just tosses a couple of rings at them.
Right? Like, I would take them.
I am curious, would they be rings that would fit his finger, or was she just like, here's 2 gold rings because you'll need to fuse those together to fit around your giant hands?
Well, if that's the case, she was a thinker.
Exactly. After performing for Queen Victoria, he proceeded to tour Europe and North America, but then decided to return to Englishtown, where he bought a grist mill along with other properties. So really, he just he did his tour, but then he was like, no, I'm done. Went back to his fishing village and kept on working. In 1863, he was on his way to Halifax to buy supplies for his store when he fell ill. He returned to his parents' home, where they hastily lengthened a bed to help him rest.
How do you hastily lengthen a bed?
I'm not entirely sure.
Is it like one of those dining room tables where you pull it out and put
a leaf in? Yeah. I assume they just put 2 beds together, or maybe like 3. He eventually died of brain fever on August 8th, 1863. His house was still in Englishtown until the 1950s, when it eventually fell into disrepair. The Gaelic College in Cape Breton had some of his possessions on display until the 1980s, when the Giant MacAskill Museum was founded. From 1977 until 2008, the Englishtown ferry that crosses over a narrow portion of water was named for him as the Angus MacAskill in his honor.
Do we know if the Giant MacAskill Museum is still operational today?
I believe it is, because I'm pretty sure when we're in Cape Breton, Allie and I have driven by it. Yeah, it looks like it is. It still has a website at the very least. We really need to go.
Next pod road trip.
Exactly. Going to Englishtown, Cape Breton.
Ooh, yes.
Today, we talked about some people who are of considerable size and have broken some world records. So, I decided to say, let's talk about some world records in a quiz, but these are more about spooky things to kind of spin back to the rest of the podcast.
I love a good quiz.
I don't know if you'll be able to get some of these because they're very vague questions, but some of them I just want to talk about, if we're being honest. These are all, it was actually from the kids section of the Guinness World Records website, so I mean, maybe that's my reading level, I don't know. How many people, or I guess vampires attended the largest gathering of vampires.
Were they real vampires?
Hard to say. They say it was just people dressed as vampires. It was during daytime.
Well, that's how you hide. How many? I'm going to say 372.
It was actually 1,369, and it was held at Whitby Abbey in the United Kingdom.
Oh, that's where Dracula has a lot of action take place.
Oh, well, there you go.
So
that makes sense. Jinx. I'm just kidding, Chelsea. So next, how many dolls are in the largest collection of haunted dolls?
Ooh, I feel like dolls can be small, so you can have a lot of them. So I'm going to say 6,000.
You're not too far. It's believed to be about 4,000 dolls.
Okay, that's pretty close.
So this is in Mexico, in a place called La Isla de las Muñecas, sorry for the pronunciation, which translates to Island of the Dolls. It sounds like you've heard of this.
Yes, I watched a documentary about it once, and it looks like a very interesting place, but a very spooky one.
Yeah, so apparently the owner of the island, when he first got it, claimed to hear the spirit of a girl ask for a doll. So he decided to tie one to a tree, which is bizarre for its own reasons.
As you do.
But said that after that, he would find more dolls on the island every day, which he assumed was the spirit acting up. So then he started bringing more dolls in to then appease the spirit, which he continued to do for 50 years until his death. But many of these dolls, they're just like tied to trees or like hung from trees, and they're missing arms and limbs, and it all looks very creepy. They're in various states of decay and disrepair.
This was in the kids section of the Guinness World Records?
Yeah, kids.guinnessworldrecords.com. It was very strange, but it seems like an interesting place. I think we should visit.
I think we should too.
I mean, we might not leave if we visit, but...
We'll need to bring a doll, kind of like Catherine McIntosh's grave.
Apparently people do bring dolls as offerings to there. And the last one, less spooky. What do you think is the weight of the heaviest pumpkin?
612 pounds.
You are not even close.
1,200 pounds.
Still not even close.
5,000 pounds.
Well, now you went a little far. It was 2,749 pounds, or 1,246.9 kilograms. It was grown in California, in the USA, in case you needed to know, was 180 times the size of a standard pumpkin.
My goodness, I can imagine, because I feel like I've seen some big pumpkins in Windsor, Nova Scotia, but I don't think those are.
Yeah, I think you could make a full sailboat of that bad boy.
Think of the pies.
Honestly, though.
Just a reminder that this Saturday, May 3rd, we're going to be setting up a table at the spring market at Jameson Park in Fall River, Nova Scotia. We're going to be handing out stickers and zines and talking to folks about local ghost stories and hopefully collecting a few from folks who visit. So come see us if you're in the area.
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of It Came From The Maritimes. You can find us on social media on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at It Came From The Maritimes, and X and Blue Sky at ICFT Maritimes. Is that right?
Yes.
Perfect. And if you have any Atlantic Canada folklore you would like to see covered in a future episode, or a spooky encounter of your own, email us at itcameFromTheMaritimes@gmail.com. If you enjoy our podcast, please leave a 5-star review. It helps people find us. And now we'd like to end with a little bit of a East Coast folklore tip. This isn't anything too serious, just a bit of fun. Chelsea, do you have one for us?
I do. Our folklore tip for today, since we were talking about Angus MacAskill, who had a ship himself, is if an item gets turned upside down on a ship, it's a sign it will flip.
Well, there we go. Gotta keep everything upright.
Absolutely. Thanks for listening.
Bye.